Imagine every atom in your body becoming the size of a city. Suddenly, the space between them becomes enormous. Vast empty gaps holding together something your brain calls you, which raises a terrifying question. What are humans actually made of? You're not standing on solid ground right now. You think you are. You can feel it beneath your feet. Hard, stable, real. But if I zoomed in far enough, if I showed you what's actually holding you up, you'd fall through. Because matter isn't solid. It's mostly nothing. Empty space held together by forces we barely understand. And when you realize what that means, when you truly grasp the scale of what you're made of, you'll never feel real again. Let me show you something that will break your perception of reality. Imagine a single atom in your body. Any atom, a carbon atom in your fingernail. Now imagine that atom is the size of a city. Not a small town, a sprawling metropolis. Los Angeles, Tokyo, London, millions of people. Skyscrapers, roads, infrastructure, an entire urban center buzzing with activity, stretching for miles in every direction. That's one atom. Now here's the part that destroys you. In the center of that city, buried deep underground, beneath all the buildings, beneath all the streets, beneath everything is the nucleus. The core. Except it's not the size of a city hall, it's not even the size of a car. If the atom is Los Angeles, the nucleus is a marble sitting in the middle of a football stadium downtown. That's it. One tiny sphere. And orbiting around it, somewhere in the distant suburbs, miles and miles away, are electrons. Particles so small they might not even be particles at all. They're probability clouds, ghosts, existing everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Everything else, the space between the nucleus and the electrons, the vast emptiness that makes up 99.9999% of the atom, nothing. Void. Empty space. You are made of 7 octillion atoms. That's 7 billion billion billion. Each one structured like a city with almost nothing inside it. Which means you, your body, your bones, your brain, everything you've ever touched, are mostly empty space held together by electromagnetic forces pretending to be solid. You've never touched anything in your life. When you press your hand against a table, you're not actually making contact. The electrons in your hand are repelling the electrons in the table. The electromagnetic force between them creates resistance. It feels solid. But there's a gap. A microscopic void that will never close. You're hovering above everything you've ever held. You've been floating your entire life and didn't know it. But that's not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is what happens when you zoom out. Because if one atom is a city, then a single cell in your body, which contains roughly 100 trillion atoms, is an empire. Not a country. An empire. The Roman Empire at its peak covered 2.3 million square miles and contained 50 million people. A single human cell, scaled to our atomicity model, would be larger. Billions of cities, each one a carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen atom. Each one performing a function, building proteins, transporting energy, communicating chemically. Your cells aren't just alive, they're civilizations. And you contain 37 trillion of them. 37 trillion empires, each one operating independently, each one unaware that it's part of something larger. Each one living and dying and replicating without ever knowing it's inside you. Right now, as you read this, 2 million of your cells just died. 2 million microscopic civilizations gone and replaced instantly by new ones. You didn't feel it? You'll never feel it. To you, cells are invisible. Automatic background noise. But to them, to the structures inside those cells, you don't exist. You're too large, too slow, too incomprehensible. If a single protein inside a cell could think, it would see chemical reactions and molecular machinery. The nucleus would loom like a moon overhead. It would have no concept of cell or of being part of a larger system. And even if it could perceive the cell, it could never conceive of you. The scale is too extreme. This is where your brain starts to break. If atoms are cities and cells are empires, then what are you? Let me build this carefully because the answer is terrifying. A human body is made of 37 trillion cells. If each cell is an empire containing 100 trillion atoms, and each atom is a city, then you are a galactic supercluster. You are a structure so vast that atoms and quarks have no awareness of your existence. You move, think, and make decisions, while quantum events inside you do not know they are part of something conscious. But here's where it gets worse. You are not alone. There are 8 billion humans on Earth. 8 billion galactic superclusters walking around interacting and colliding. They are each made of trillions of empires, made of trillions of cities, made of almost nothing at all. We have built societies, economies, governments, wars, love, and art on the surface of a planet of mostly empty space. Earth is just a larger collection of cities pretending to be solid. It orbits a star that contains 1 octillion atoms. If each atom is a city, the sun is not a planet or a galaxy, but a cosmic structure so large, our entire history fits inside 1 district of 1 city in 1 atom. We are smaller than irrelevant. But that is not the part that should terrify you, because we are in the middle of the scale. Inside the nucleus of an atom are protons and neutrons like marbles in a stadium-sized atom. A single proton would be the size of a grain of sand inside that marble. But a proton is not fundamental because it is made of 3 quarks held together by gluons. If a proton is a grain of sand, then a quark is something we cannot measure or fully describe. Quarks might be point particles 0 in size, or vibrating strings, or something physics cannot yet describe. We've smashed particles together at 99.99% the speed of light in the Large Hadron Collider, and we still can't see what's inside a quark. Which means when you zoom in far enough, reality stops making sense. At the Planck scale, 1.6 times 10 to the minus 35 meters, space-time itself breaks down. Quantum foam, virtual particles popping in and out of existence, the universe glitching. At that scale, cause and effect become optional. Particles exist in multiple places simultaneously. Time moves backward and forward. The rules governing everything we know dissolve into probability and chaos. You are made of that chaos. Trillions and trillions of tiny impossibilities stacked together, pretending to be a person. And here's the thought that should make you feel unreal. What if we're not at the top either? We've zoomed down from atoms to quarks to quantum foam. We've seen reality collapse into strangeness the smaller we look. But what if the same thing happens when we zoom out? What if humans aren't the final scale? What if we're the atoms in something larger? Think about it. Your cells don't know you exist. The proteins inside your cells don't know the cell exists. The atoms inside the proteins don't know the protein exists. At every level, the components are unaware of the system they're part of. So why would we be different? What if Earth is a cell? What if the solar system is an organ? What if galaxies are bodies, and the universe is a living organism so vast, so slow, so incomprehensible that we'll never perceive it? What if our entire existence, all of human history, from the first stone tools to space exploration, is happening in the time it takes the universe to fire a single neuron? We'd never know. Because we're too small, too fast, too trapped in our own scale. And this is where the existential weight crushes you. Because if that's true, if we're components in something larger, then everything we think matters doesn't. Our wars are chemical reactions. Our love is molecular bonding. Our art is patterns in the noise. The universe isn't watching us. It doesn't know we exist. We're atoms in a city, inside an empire, inside a body that will never notice when we disappear. But here's the beautiful, terrible paradox. Even if we're cosmically irrelevant, we're still conscious. We still feel. We still experience awe and wonder and fear. We've built civilizations from nothing. We've decoded the atom. We've split the nucleus. We've walked on the moon. We've photographed the edge of the observable universe. We've looked at the quantum foam and said, we want to understand you. The atoms inside you don't do that. They just exist. They follow the laws of physics blindly. But you question. You explore. You imagine. You are a collection of empty cities that somehow learn to think, to dream, to ask, what am I? And no other scale we know of does that. Atoms don't wonder. Cells don't philosophize. Planets don't create art, but we do. Humans are fragile, temporary structures made of 99% nothing and have become the universe looking at itself. We are the scale where matter becomes conscious, where empty space becomes emotion, where quantum chaos becomes Shakespeare and Einstein and every song ever written. We are the only layer of reality that knows it exists, but that awareness comes with a cost. Once you see the scale, you can't unsee it. Once you truly understand that you're made of cities made of mostly nothing, you can't go back to believing in solid ground. You can't pretend you're separate from the quantum chaos. You're not standing on Earth. You're a pattern in the universe, temporary and strange. You are made of atoms that have existed for 13.8 billion years and will continue existing long after you're gone. The carbon in your body was forged in a dying star. The calcium in your bones came from a supernova. The iron in your blood was scattered across space in an explosion so violent it outshone an entire galaxy. You are made of stardust, literally. The atoms in your hand are older than the Earth and have been part of other things. Other planets, other stars, maybe even other life forms will have shared those atoms. You're not a fixed thing. You're a temporary arrangement, a brief pattern in an endless cycle of creation and destruction. In 100 years, the atoms that make you will be scattered into trees, oceans, and space. The cities will be redistributed and the empires will collapse. Something new will form from your ruins. If atoms are cities, and you are made of those cities, then you're not small or insignificant. You're vast, and you contain multitudes, 7 octillion atoms each with a history stretching back to the beginning of time. You are a walking galaxy, a conscious universe made of ancient particles organized into something that can read and feel. That's not nothing. That's a miracle physics can't explain. We don't know why matter became conscious or why atoms formed structures complex enough to ask questions. We just know it happened, and it happened in you. If atoms are cities, cells are empires, and humans are galactic superclusters, then we are the scale where the universe wakes up. We are the brief, impossible moment when empty space looks at itself and realizes it's not empty at all. We are the layer of reality where nothing becomes everything and quantum foam becomes thought. We are dead matter made alive, aware, and terrified of its own existence. We are the universe's way of knowing it's here. And when you die, when your atoms scatter and your cities dissolve and your empires fall, the universe won't end. It will just forget it was conscious for a moment. The atoms will drift, the pattern will fade. And somewhere else, in some other corner of space, another collection of cities will form. Another structure will wake up. Another consciousness will look at the stars and ask, "What am I?" And the cycle will continue, because if atoms are cities, then consciousness isn't rare. It's inevitable. It's what happens when the universe gets complex enough. We're not alone in this. We can't be. There are more stars in the universe than atoms in your body. Wait, no, reverse that. There are more atoms in your body than stars in the Milky Way. You contain more cities than our galaxy contains suns. You are vast and tiny simultaneously. You are everything and nothing. You are a walking contradiction held together by forces we're still trying to understand. And the most terrifying, most beautiful part? You'll never know what you really are. Because the moment you think you figured it out, someone will zoom in further, find something smaller, and the cities will collapse into something stranger. Or they'll zoom out further, find something larger, and you'll realize you're not the supercluster, you're just one atom inside it. The scale never ends, and neither does the mystery of what it means to be human.